Before we jump in, take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This way, you won't miss any future videos that could change the way you look at money forever. Trust me, you'll want to be part of this community that's growing smarter and wealthier every day. Compounding is one of those things that sounds simple but feels almost like magic once you see it in action. Imagine planting a small seed. At first, it doesn't look like much, but over time it grows into a tree, and then that tree drops more seeds, and soon you have an entire forest. That's exactly what compounding does with your money. Most people underestimate the power of compounding because the early stages feel slow. You invest a little, you get a little back. Nothing too exciting. But here's the thing, the snowball effect starts small, then gradually builds momentum. When you let it roll long enough, it turns into an unstoppable force. The reason the number $100,000 is so special is that it marks a tipping point. It's like pushing a car uphill, hard work at first, but once you reach the top, gravity takes over, and suddenly the car speeds down without much effort. Your money starts working harder than you do. At lower amounts, your gains might look small. Maybe you earn a few $100s a year from interest or investments. Nice, but nothing life-changing. However, once your portfolio crosses into six figures, the math gets interesting. Suddenly, those same percentage gains produce thousands instead of hundreds. Think of it like working out at the gym. In the beginning, lifting weights feels painful and progress is slow. But after months of consistent effort, your muscles adapt, and suddenly you're lifting much more than you thought possible. With money, the same rule applies. Patience and consistency pay off. Many new investors quit too soon because they don't see results fast enough. They forget that the first stage of compounding is about building the foundation. Without that, you never reach the stage where growth becomes explosive. The 100,000 mark is proof that you stayed the course. Here's the kicker. Once you cross that threshold, compounding no longer feels like crawling. It feels like sprinting downhill. Every year your wealth multiplies faster, and soon you're earning more passively than you could actively at a job. That's the moment financial freedom becomes real. So, before diving into the math and strategies, remember this. Your job right now is to stay consistent, keep saving, keep investing, and keep your eyes on the long-term prize. Because once you hit that magical number, the game changes completely. Chapter 2. Why 100,000 is the tipping point. Let's start with a thought experiment. Imagine you have a portfolio of just $1,000. If it grows by 10% in a year, you make $100. Not bad, but not exactly exciting. Now, imagine that same 10% applied to $100,000. Suddenly, that's $10,000 in 1 year, and the effort was the same. This is why compounding feels slow at the beginning, but explodes later. Percentages are powerful, but the bigger your base, the more dramatic the results. 10% of a small number feels like pocket change, but 10% of six figures feels like a full-time salary. Think of it like climbing stairs. The first steps are small, tiring, and don't seem to get you anywhere. But once you reach a higher floor, every step suddenly gives you a better view. The 100,000 mark is like stepping onto a balcony, where you can finally see how far you've come, and how much further you can go. What's incredible is that the math doesn't change. The percentages are the same whether you have $1 or 1 million. The only difference is the scale. This is why wealthy people seem to get richer out of nowhere. They're playing the same game but with much bigger numbers. Now, here's the fun part. You don't need to be a math genius to take advantage of this. All you need is patience and discipline. Invest consistently, reinvest your earnings, and avoid pulling money out too soon. Over time, those habits turn your small snowball into an avalanche. Some people think they'll never reach 100,000, so they give up early. But here's a secret. Everyone who got there once thought the same. The difference is they kept pushing through the slow, boring stage. If you stay committed, the numbers will surprise you sooner than you expect. Once you hit that milestone, something psychological also happens. You stop doubting whether investing works because you can literally see the money working for you. That confidence fuels even smarter decisions and keeps you from making emotional mistakes. Another benefit is momentum. When you see your wealth producing thousands without extra effort, you naturally want to keep the cycle going. The fear of missing out flips. You don't fear losing money, you fear interrupting the compounding process. So, the next time someone tells you that investing is slow or not worth it, remember, they're looking at the tiny steps, not the big leap that comes after. The $100,000 milestone is not just about money, it's about unlocking the part of compounding where growth feels unstoppable. Chapter 3: The Early Grind. Why most people quit too soon. When you first start investing, it can feel painfully slow. You put away a few $100s a month, and the growth seems barely noticeable. Many people look at their account and think, "What's the point? This will take forever." That's the dangerous moment where most give up. The truth is, the early grind is where discipline is tested. Compounding doesn't reward impatience, it rewards persistence. Think of it like cooking a meal in a slow cooker. For hours, it looks like nothing is happening. But the magic is happening beneath the surface, and only those who wait get to taste the results. At the beginning, your returns might cover just small expenses, like a phone bill or a dinner out. That doesn't feel life-changing. But these tiny wins are proof that the system is working. If you ignore them and keep reinvesting, those small sparks eventually become a fire. Here's the tricky part. Because progress feels invisible, people are tempted to chase shortcuts. They gamble on risky stocks, jump on trendy investments, or cash out early for instant gratification. Ironically, those moves keep them stuck in the slow lane forever. Instead, the real winners play the long game. They keep their eyes on the milestone, even when the numbers seem unimpressive. Every extra contribution, every reinvested dividend, is a brick in the foundation of their financial freedom. And once that foundation is solid, the skyscraper rises fast. Think of athletes training for a marathon. The first miles are the hardest. The body resists, and progress is hard to see. But the persistence in those early miles builds the stamina needed to finish strong. In investing, the first years are those tough miles, and quitting early means you never cross the finish line. What makes the grind worth it is knowing what's waiting on the other side. Once you pass the 100,000 mark, the numbers suddenly look impressive. The very same growth rate that once gave you a few hundred now gives you thousands. That's when people around you start asking, "How did you do it?" Most people who quit early don't realize how close they were to the tipping point. They think compounding doesn't work, when in fact they just didn't give it enough time. Imagine stopping a video game right before unlocking the best level. That's exactly what they're doing with their money. So, if you're in the grind right now, don't lose heart. Celebrate the small wins, keep your focus on the bigger picture, and trust the process. Because every boring, ordinary contribution is secretly building momentum toward extraordinary results. Chapter 4: The Psychology of Big Numbers. Something fascinating happens when your portfolio crosses into six figures. Suddenly, the numbers feel heavy, almost surreal. Watching your balance swing by several thousand in a single day can feel both thrilling and terrifying. But this psychological shift is actually part of the magic of compounding. At smaller amounts, you might barely notice the changes. A gain or loss of $50 doesn't affect your emotions much. But when the same percentage movement equals 5,000, your brain pays attention. That awareness pushes many people to take their money more seriously. The interesting part is that nothing fundamentally changed. A 10% gain is still a 10% gain. The math is identical. What changed is your perception. Larger numbers grab your attention and force you to respect the process in a way smaller amounts never could. This is why reaching 100,000 isn't just financial, it's psychological. It transforms your relationship with money. You no longer think of it as savings in a jar. You see it as a powerful machine capable of generating real income without your constant effort. Some investors get nervous when their portfolio starts swinging by thousands. They panic and think they're losing control. But here's the truth. That volatility is normal, and it's a sign you're finally playing in the big leagues. Learning to stay calm during these swings is part of becoming a seasoned investor. Others, however, feel energized. They realize that their money is finally working harder than they are. That shift builds confidence and creates motivation to keep the cycle going. Suddenly, investing feels less like a chore and more like a game you can actually win. Think of it like riding a bike downhill. At first, you're pedaling like crazy just to move forward. But once momentum kicks in, you can lift your feet off the pedals and let gravity do the work. The key is staying balanced and not panicking when the speed increases. The big numbers also change the way you think about time. You begin to realize that patience is your greatest asset. A year no longer feels like a long wait, when it means thousands of dollars added to your portfolio without lifting a finger. So, hitting 100,000 is more than just a milestone on paper. It's the moment you shift from doubt to belief, from fear to confidence, and from "I hope this works" to "I know this works." That mindset is what allows you to truly unlock the explosive power of compounding. Chapter 5: Building the Engine. Habits that fuel compounding. Reaching 100,000 doesn't happen by accident. Behind that milestone are habits, small, consistent actions repeated over years. These habits act like the engine that powers compounding. Without them, even the best investment strategy can stall. The first and most important habit is consistency. Setting aside money every single month, no matter how small, builds discipline. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't see dramatic results after one day, but the long-term payoff is undeniable. Next comes reinvestment. Many beginners make the mistake of spending their returns instead of letting them grow. But reinvesting dividends and gains is where the snowball effect truly shines. Each reinvested dollar becomes another worker in your financial army, compounding on your behalf. Automation is another powerful tool. By setting up automatic transfers into investment accounts, you remove emotion from the process. You don't have to think about it, debate it, or second-guess it. The system quietly works in the background while you focus on living your life. Another habit that fuels compounding is living below your means. It's not glamorous, but it's effective. Every dollar you save and invest is a dollar that can grow for decades. The people who hit 100,000 fastest aren't always the ones who earn the most, they're the ones who save the smartest. Tracking progress also matters. Watching your portfolio grow keeps you motivated, especially during the slow grind stage. It's like stepping on the scale when you're working out. The numbers tell you that the effort is paying off, even if progress feels invisible day to day. Avoiding lifestyle creep is crucial too. When income rises, it's tempting to upgrade everything: car, house, vacations. But if every raise gets absorbed into spending, compounding loses its fuel. The winners are those who keep their lifestyle steady while funneling the extra income into investments. Patience ties it all together. Compounding is a marathon, not a sprint. You don't need to time the market perfectly or chase trends. You just need to let time do the heavy lifting. The habit of patience, though simple, is what separates those who quit early from those who break through. Finally, curiosity keeps the fire alive. Learning about new investment opportunities, tax strategies, or money management tips makes the journey exciting. The more you understand, the less likely you are to panic or make emotional decisions. Knowledge becomes another layer of compounding, this time for your mindset. Chapter 6: The Math Behind the Explosion. Let's break down the numbers to see why compounding explodes after 100,000. Suppose your portfolio grows at 10% annually. With 10,000, that's just 1,000 in gains. With 50,000, it's 5,000. But with 100,000, suddenly you're pocketing 10,000 in a single year without lifting a finger. Here's where it gets crazy. That 10,000 doesn't just sit there. It joins the original 100,000, meaning the next year you're compounding on 110,000. At the same 10% growth, you now earn 11,000. Each year, the snowball rolls faster. Fast forward 10 years with consistent growth, and that 100,000 could more than double. Not because you worked harder, but because compounding turned time into your most powerful ally. The best part, you don't have to start from scratch ever again. The base only gets bigger. Now let's compare it to smaller numbers. If you're compounding 10% on 10,000, in 10 years you might see it grow to about 26,000. Impressive, but still limited. The same growth rate on 100,000, that jumps to more than 260,000. Same percentage, dramatically different outcome. This is why the milestone matters so much. At lower amounts, compounding feels invisible, like watching paint dry. But once you cross into six figures, every percentage gain is noticeable. It's like upgrading from a garden hose to a fire hydrant. The flow is the same, but the impact is massively different. Think of it like playing a video game with power-ups. Early on, you're weak and every small win feels tough. But once you collect enough upgrades, your character suddenly becomes unstoppable. Compounding is that hidden upgrade system, boring at first, but explosive once unlocked. Another way to look at it, imagine a tree. In the early years, it grows slowly, barely noticeable. But once the roots are deep and the trunk strong, the branches explode outward each spring. Your money behaves the same way once it hits that 100,000 threshold. What's important to remember is that compounding doesn't care about your feelings, it only cares about math. Whether you're patient or impatient, it will work the same. The only question is whether you'll give it enough time and fuel to show its full potential. So when you see those big numbers, don't think of them as luck. They are the natural result of patience, discipline, and the unshakable laws of math. The explosion isn't magic, it's predictable, and that's what makes it so powerful. Chapter 7: Avoiding the Traps That Kill Compounding. Now that you know why compounding explodes after 100,000, it's just as important to understand what can stop it. The truth is, most people sabotage themselves long before compounding reaches its full power. Let's look at the traps you must avoid. The first trap is impatience. Pulling money out too early destroys the snowball effect. Every dollar you withdraw is a soldier leaving your financial army, and once it's gone, it can't keep fighting for you. That slows down the momentum right when it matters most. Another trap is chasing shiny objects. Hot stock tips, speculative bets, or the latest get-rich-quick scheme can wipe out years of steady growth. Remember, compounding works best with stability. Jumping in and out of investments resets the clock and delays your progress. Debt is another compounding killer. While your investments can compound positively, debt compounds negatively, working against you 24/7. Credit card balances with high interest rates can grow faster than your portfolio, wiping out your hard-earned gains before they even take root. Then there's lifestyle inflation. As income rises, many people spend more instead of investing more. That bigger car or fancier house may feel rewarding in the moment, but it steals fuel from your compounding engine. Over time, those choices cost far more than they seem. Fear is also a trap. When markets dip, many investors panic and sell. But selling during downturns locks in losses and interrupts the compounding cycle. The greatest wealth often comes from staying invested through storms, letting time smooth out the volatility. Taxes can be a silent compounding thief too. Pulling money from taxable accounts too often means losing a chunk of your gains to the government. Smart investors use tax-advantaged accounts or reinvest wisely to let compounding do its job with minimal interruptions. Even neglect can be dangerous. Setting and forgetting your investments works to a point, but ignoring them completely can lead to bad asset allocation or missed opportunities. A little attention ensures your money is always positioned to grow effectively. So the lesson is clear. Compounding is powerful, but fragile. Protect it from impatience, debt, fear, and distractions, and it will reward you. Fall into the traps, and you'll delay or even derail your journey. The choice is yours. Guard your snowball like it's your most valuable treasure. Chapter 8: The Road Beyond 100,000. Reaching 100,000 is not the finish line, it's the starting gun for the real race. Once you cross this milestone, the game shifts. Compounding starts running faster than you can chase, and your job is simply to stay disciplined and let it work. At this stage, small decisions matter less than consistency. Whether you invest an extra 100 or 200 a month won't change the trajectory dramatically anymore. What matters is that you don't interrupt the process. Protecting your snowball is more important than trying to push it harder. This is also when you start noticing freedom creeping into your life. Extra income from investments can cover bills, fund vacations, or provide peace of mind. The money that once felt slow and distant now feels alive, working 24 hours a day, even while you sleep. Beyond 100,000, every milestone comes faster. Going from 100,000 to 200,000 doesn't take as long as going from 0 to 100,000. That's the magic of acceleration. Compounding shortens the distance between wins. At some point, you'll notice that your investments are producing more than you could ever save manually. That's when you've truly unlocked financial leverage. Your money is officially earning its own paycheck, and you've shifted from working for money to letting money work for you. The journey also becomes less stressful. Once you trust the process and see the results, the urge to panic fades. You no longer obsess over daily market swings. Instead, you think in decades, knowing that the long-term trend is your ally. The beauty of compounding is that it doesn't stop at 6 figures. It keeps growing, opening doors to 7 figures and beyond. The same principles, patience, consistency, and discipline apply at every stage. The only difference is that the rewards become life-changing. So, what should you do after hitting this milestone? Keep going. Don't celebrate by cashing out. Don't fall into traps, and don't underestimate what's possible. Stay humble, stay consistent, and let time keep multiplying your efforts. Remember, the explosion after 100,000 isn't a myth, it's math. If you've built the habits, avoided the traps, and trusted the process, the future is brighter than you can imagine. So subscribe, stay with us, and let's keep building wealth together, because your compounding journey is only just beginning.